Well, good morning, everyone out there in webinar land. It is the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, a big welcome to everyone who has joined us for this webinar, and a thank you for taking an hour out of your Thursday afternoon or morning, depending on where you happen to be dialing in from, and spending it with us here, learning more about the ZYCUS Genesis program. So my name is Zach Bolt, and I am the Vice President of Sales Operations here at ZYCUS. I've been at the company for about 4 years, and I'm responsible for all the solution design and consulting that goes into the process of selling the ZYCUS application. So it's a pleasure for me to be here today presenting to you about the ZYCUS Genesis program. A little bit about today's webinar and format, kind of do a little housekeeping here before I jump any further into the slides. I'm going to talk to you about who ZYCUS is, and we'll talk to you about what we do, what we're all about, and about the culture of our organization, which I think is extraordinarily important in your decisioning process when you're evaluating technology. I am going to talk to you about the Genesis program. So we're going to learn the genesis about Genesis. What's this thing all about, and kind of what we're trying to achieve here in the mid-market with this application solution suite design package that is targeted specifically to solve the problems facing growing, burgeoning procurement organizations and companies as they look to grow and for procurement to become a more strategic function or part of the operational business. So after that, I'm going to do a demonstration of the ZYCUS solution suite for you as it pertains to the Genesis solutioning package. So without further ado, let me go ahead and get started here. First of all, I think you need to learn a little something about ZYCUS, the company, who we are, and kind of what's codified into our DNA as an organization. So first of all, we are procurement focused. Now, what does that mean? So that means that as a company, we design, build, and deploy technologies that are solely focused on meeting the needs of the procurement function within companies. Now, procurement often touches many domains, vendor management. It also includes accounts payable, often supply chain, audit and risk, finance, many kind of IT. So many organizations kind of work within that same. Procurement casts a broad net and impacts many functions related within the business, and we do work and collaborate with many organizational units inside companies that we work with, but we are focused on building and deploying procurement technology. As such, we are one of the few vendors who offers a comprehensive source-to-pay solution suite within the industry. We are, in fact, one of only a couple of vendors who actually have built the entire solution suite in-house. And the differentiator you're going to see here about ZYCUS, and I've learned this over my many years in the procurement domain, having worked with multiple technologies and deploying, both in selling and deploying them, is that ZYCUS does, I think, the best job in the industry of balancing ease of use without sacrificing depth and breadth of functionality. So that's our focus. As a commitment to our innovation as an organization, we have 1/3 of our employee headcount in research and development. We are over 750 employees strong, and so that tells you that we have a really, really big development center within our company. We are focused on innovation. So procurement focused. Global presence. We have over 300 successful deployments of the solution to date across our 18-year history as an organization. We also have offices across the globe. I know many times mid-market companies, even though they are in the range of, up to say $2 billion, $2.5 billion in revenue annually, organizations within the mid-market, they are often global in nature, and we are global to support you. So I can think of a number of the names of clients that fit within that niche, just kind of just leap to the eye and can roll off my tongue, and we can share those customer success stories with you. But that is our focus, is to be here as a global organization to support you on the ground locally where you have resources where you need them. I think the third thing that is particularly precipitate about ZYCUS is that we are privately owned, self-funded, and we are a strong and sustainable organization. We do not take private equity. We do not take venture capital money. We are privately owned, we're self-funded, and we are not up for sale. And I think that's become a bigger deal in the industry in the last 12 to 24, 36 months than it was maybe 2 to 3 years ago, even 4 years ago when I joined ZYCUS. This wasn't as big a deal, but now with mergers and acquisitions and companies literally being just gobbled up for their customer base and things of that nature, and then these cobbled together solution suites. Our story of being procurement focused, writing every line of code that we deploy to our customer base, having a global presence and being strong and sustainable and privately owned and self-funded, that is a story that resonates well. And if you notice, everything that I'm talking about really falls outside the domain of the product itself. The product on some level, while our solutions are good, product in and of itself, I think, has reached almost a state of commodity, because the features and the functions that are required to be at least minimally adequate for organizations are somewhat ubiquitous throughout the solution domain. If you look across ZYCUS and our competitors, click for click, button for button, there are a few differences, but it's almost a commodity. So what then should become your focus as a technology evaluator? I'm a person who works with technology every day, and I say it's really more about the company that you're working with. It's more about the culture. It's about their ability to make you successful. It's about the focus on successful outcomes, and that's what ZYCUS is all about, a focus on successful outcomes. And we're going to talk about, I'm going to talk to you about how we accomplish that today. So with a big focus on successful outcomes, we have developed a solution package called the ZYCUS Genesis. And the Genesis is kind of, Genesis, if you think about it, takes you back to the beginning if you want to wax biblical on this. So Genesis is in the beginning. So this is for procurement organizations who are perhaps in the earlier stages, in the beginning of their procurement transformation. I have clients who had no technology, or they've got their Great Plains or their NetSuite ERP, and they're working within the confines of the very limited procurement tools that are available within those applications, and they need to be able to expand and grow, and they don't want to have the limiting factor being their procurement technology. This is a turnkey solution. That's the first step in procurement automation and transformation. So point number one here, we have a best-in-class procurement solution. We are ranked in the leader by Gartner and by Forrester, and we're very, very honored to have such honors bestowed upon us as an organization. We use our user interface as a differentiator for us. And again, as I pointed out, you'll see that no vendor is going to top us for coupling ease of use together with depth and breadth of functionality. Coupling this, talk about value, coupling this with a fast-track implementation. We've actually whittled down the implementation time for this package down to a mere 8 to 12 weeks, and we're actually deploying this. It's an out-of-the-box solution that has best practices, and we have our expert resources helping to kind of build out the application and deploy it for you. That doesn't mean it's not configurable. It can be configured to meet your needs, but we have kind of are tailoring it to have best in class or best of breed, best practices built within the solution. And then also, we're deploying this on the ground with local partners to help you get up and running extraordinarily quick. We've got a lot of success in doing these types of things. And then we also are focused on minimizing IT support. Number one, with cloud delivery, we offer supplier onboarding services, but we also are offering turnkey integration packages as well. I see one of the limiting factors in many organizations of all sizes. There is a constant fight for IT resources. And oftentimes, companies have one of two things. They don't have the available IT staff, or they don't have the on-staff expertise required to do the integrations necessary to support a full procure-to-pay deployment. ZYCUS is solving that by literally providing turnkey, out-of-the-box integration pre-built. It's essentially plug and play, plug it, test it, play it, and you're good to go. Easy to buy, easy to own. Point three here, we've done some pretty clever and unique things here. First of all, the price point from an annual subscription fee is extraordinarily compelling, and I say that for having done this many, many years in the industry. As well as we're taking the implementation fees and we're amortizing them over the life of your 3, 4, 5-year contract. So you don't even have a big upfront payment on the services. That's literally amortized across the entire solution bundle. So the way this works out, we have two packages here. For the Genesis Essentials, for the weighted cost of one full-time FTE, you can have a world-class procurement solution that is going to kickstart you on your way to being best-in-class procurement organization. All right. So I am going to cover today, this slide speaks to the solution design a bit more in specific. So I'm going to start at the bottom and go up. We have a procure-to-pay application. So you get full P2P, rec to check, everything that you need to do a full procure-to-pay deployment. That's rec, purchase order management, PO transmission, receipting, invoicing, all of that fully baked into the application. We also, within the context of procure-to-pay, have a sourcing quick source. It's a quick quote. It's a spot buy type of functionality built in. If you know anything about ZYCUS, you know that we have a very robust industrial strength sourcing application, and we do have that bundled into one of the solution packages. Today I'm going to be demonstrating for you what we call the Essentials package, which is our starter kit. The repository for contracts, we have an extremely robust repository that enables you to store all of your agreements, search, find them, report on them, as well as make them actionable and operational within the context of procure-to-pay. Full supplier information management, be able to onboard, manage, track your suppliers, and work with them in a self-service portal environment. So I'm going to speak to this slide quickly, and then I'm going to move on into showing you kind of how the packages stack up, and then we're going to get over into the demonstration here in just a few moments. Okay, so what do you get with the Genesys package? So you're going to get a turnkey application suite that's going to help you, at its core, automate all of your procurement transactions, particularly on the indirect side. Okay, so everything that you need to do from a procurement management, invoice management, PO management, all that's going to be able to be done within the benefit package. So it's going to help you to maximize your spend that you're capturing under management. And I define spend under management, I think, a little bit more tightly. I more tightly define it than I think some organizations, and I've heard other consultants do. I define it as sourced, contracted, and the spend is pre-approved on requisition or PO prior to the PO going out the door. So that's how I define spend under management. It's a pretty tight definition, and we were going to help you maximize that. Additionally, we're going to help you, we're going to get you to your return on investment. So time to value is critical here. We're going to give you 90 days, 90-day runway to land the plane. We're going to help you be there every step of the way, both with our own resources and through our partners, to help you achieve ROI really fast. And then overall, you're going to be able to reduce your operational costs with removing manual paper-based processes, and we're going to help you during the course of the implementation to onboard and enable suppliers so that you're able to avail yourself of maximum electronic transaction capabilities. The package options. I love this slide, and this is actually going to be my last slide before we get over into the demonstration. I really like this one. I always like the check boxes. Kind of tell you what you get within each individual bundle. So obviously we have there's going to be a little bit different price point here between the two packages, but it's not that big of a difference. So for the difference in the money, I mean, I'd probably go with the Genesys Advanced. I think it's less of a financial decision to me and more of a decision based on the maturity of your organization and what you need. So with both packages, you're going to get full management of the entire requisition process, catalogs, punch outs, free text, all of that type of thing to purchase both goods and services. You're going to get that whole gamut. Catalog management, PO management, PO transmission to vendors, touchless POs, PO amendments, and all the stuff that you need to effectively manage purchase order. You're going to get that. You're going to get electronic invoicing. So we're going to help you to capture invoices, to be able to electronify them through XML, through our supplier network portal, our supplier app, actionable emails. There's a host of options here. Obviously, you can still receive paper-based and PDF-based emails. We have a scan and capture and OCR widget built within the applications. There's a lot of goodness going on here, and of course you can still enter non-PO invoices. Suppliers can do that. Any way that you receive an invoice via XML, other electronic means, smoke signals, Pony Express, however you get them, you're going to be able to process those invoices in ZYCUS. The contract repository, you get that with both solutions. Here's the difference. We have a more advanced capability on contract authoring. That does not come bundled in the Genesys Essentials package. It does come in the Advanced package. So if you need, or if you have a very near-term vision of doing a full redlining and authoring capability within the application itself, if you can get your legal group on board with that, which shouldn't be that hard considering that we have a Word plugin, MS Word plugin, that enables you actually to do all of your authoring from start to finish inside MS Word, and it syncs it all up into ZYCUS. The change management is dramatically reduced with this innovation from ZYCUS. The quick source, you can do it as simple sourcing events. You could do it quote to rec, or you do rec to quote. So you've got really 3 different options in how you do this. Here comes runtime with both applications. Full sourcing is a function of Genesys Advanced. It does not come with the Essentials package. If you've ever seen ZYCUS, we are known for a strong sourcing solution, enabling you to manage RFX of all kinds, forward, reverse auctions, English, Dutch, a lot of flexibility and capability there. Supplier information management comes standard with both products. And then one thing that we do with the advanced is we kind of go with some more advanced services too. If you wish, those are a la carte. I have clients who are doing things like managed services, or like, hey, our IT staff doesn't even want to touch this after it's implemented. Great, you know, for a little bit extra on the SaaS fee, that's taken off, and we actually provide full support. It's literally the whole management of the application is outsourced to someone else. That's in addition, obviously, to us providing technical support and those type of things. But if you need project, PMO services, change management, BPO services, all that, we do offer those as well. And if you think you need that stuff, or we can kind of do a diagnostic and help you understand if you actually need it, then there is value in leveraging that. Okay, so without further ado, let's jump into the application. I'm going to share my screen, and here we go. Welcome to ZYCUS. So if you've not seen ZYCUS before this and it's your first foray, I think you're going to be pleasantly surprised. If you have seen ZYCUS before in the past, you may say, hey, Peter, things look a little bit different. We've pretty recently gone through an upgrade of the look and feel of the application, trying to continue our leadership in holding the beachhead of usability and push the envelope on innovation as it pertains to enterprise-grade solutions that are fun and easy to use. Navigation over here on ZYCUS. We're going to go through most of this today. So this system that I've got configured here is essentially designed to demonstrate the fundamentals of the Genesys Essentials package. I've got e-procurement, I've got e-invoice, and then we've got sourcing containing only the quick source capability, contract management containing only the contract repository, and then full supplier management. Everything that you see here is part and parcel of the Genesys Essentials package, and then the advanced package adds a few more advanced capabilities. So navigation is relatively simple. Behind you in the gray, you see the dashboard, the landing page for the splash screen that's configurable by user as to widgets, tiles that you wish to have on the screen and how you want those to look and be configured. Basically, it's a task management queue. So now when you jump into ZYCUS and you're more of a power user, someone who leverages the application day to day, then you're able to get a heads-up display into, okay, what outstanding bids do I have? Where are the POs that I need to review? What are the requisitions that I need to approve, et cetera, et cetera. So the navigation here, left-hand tabular navigation, pop the ellipsis, it drops out, and you're able to engage with the application. One thing I want to point out here, this is very important to ZYCUS. I'm just going to click on this called Live Engage here, okay? The Live Engage literally connects me in real time with the ZYCUS technical support representative and lets you start chatting. I've worked at a lot of companies, and I've never seen this before. I'm not saying that no one else has it, but this demonstrates, I think, in very real terms, our commitment to customer support, enabling us, or we put it right out here on the splash screen, engage with us, do it live, and this is part and parcel of the support that comes with the ZYCUS, your subscription ZYCUS SaaS fee. So I can literally type my name, email address, and phone number in right here. I can get a call back in a couple of minutes, or I can, on the fly, start chatting with a ZYCUS procurement professional to help me solve the problems that I have. Clients love this, and it's very visually demonstrable of our commitment to customer success. All right, enough of the commercial on that. Let's get into the application. So I just want to orient you to the navigation. I'm going to pop into what we call the online store here, where the shopping experience. So from a requisitioning perspective, this is the one-stop shop where you come to purchase and procure all things ZYCUS, okay? So a lot going on here. So just so you understand kind of the way the architecture is fundamentally designed, every screen that you have access to as a user, or every piece of content that displays on the screen, is governed by a sophisticated layer of security and permissions, role-based permissions, content-based permissions, as well as accounting-based permissions. So you've got essentially 3 layers that intertwine to enable you to manage budgets, to manage projects, to manage content, and all of that in the ZYCUS application. When I say you, your power user, your administrator of the ZYCUS solution can do that. You don't have to raise technical support tickets. And as I mentioned earlier, if you wish to, say, outsource the day-to-day management of that type of thing, you can certainly do that as part of your engagement with ZYCUS. We do offer those outsourced managed services. All right, so I'm going to spend a few minutes here kind of showing you the fundamentals of how ZYCUS operates and how we've closely connected the e-procurement and invoice management world with what we call the upstream solutions. In this case, we're referring to supplier management, to contract management, to sourcing. There's a lot of goodness going on here. So ZYCUS is the first organization to use artificial intelligence technology to guide the users in the procurement process. So we were doing AI for spend analytics years before AI was cool. We've had this AI-based guided procurement in the application here since its inception some years ago. So, and we're actually leveraging artificial intelligence instead of traditional keyword and item tagging to guide users in the procurement process. What's the value of that to you? Essentially what it does is it makes the process, the hit rate for users when they start typing, when they're searching for something, much, much higher because we've got an AI-powered engine. So if I'm looking for example, let's use an example that you've probably seen before. I'm looking for an iPhone. The AI is going to suggest in real time to the user the category of item based on your taxonomy. So we're going to work with you on your taxonomy to load it up here. We're not going to force you to use ours. We'll leverage yours. And notice the AI said, you know what, that falls under the category of mobile phone. So what we get here is items that may or may not have that specific word iPhone in them. Here are a couple at the top. Those are sorted based on relevance, as you can see here, sorted based on relevance. But how about this? Google Nexus, that doesn't have anything about iPhone in it. It's not even the same brand. Samsung Galaxy, Motorola, Sony, what have you. All of these are items in the same category that the user is authorized to purchase, but they may or may not have found if they just simply typed in iPhone. So the AI is giving them better results, more curated content. That's the focus. That's the objective. I'm going to pop this open right here and just show you item details. Give you information as it pertains to the contract. This is the type of stuff that you can permission-based kind of turn on and turn off. And I want to show you for demonstration purposes that now, as an end user, I know I'm shopping for something. And I start typing something in, and the AI in ZYCUS guides me to what I'm needing, helps me get the most relevant, curated content, presents it back to me on screen, and guess what? I can be confident as any end user, and then you as a procurement professional or CPO or whatever can be confident that your users are spending in compliant channels. And here, very visually demonstrated, the contract information is displayed on screen. So the contract itself and then the consumption against that contract sits right here. So these item details are actually contained within them, that contract information. You're confident now that your users are spending on contract. Let's add one of these guys to the cart. Okay, well you say, Zach, that works great for, the catalogs, 25%, 30% of our spend. How do you manage, say, services? Good question. Let's get a little bit more fancy. I need engineering services, okay? Again, the AI is guiding me in the process. So we support rate cards, which are kind of like it's like a rate per unit, like a rate per hour, a rate per job. We also support, and in this case, this is a little bit fancier than a simple rate card. Notice there are no prices over here, right? So these are what we call virtual catalogs. They're services-based catalogs where you've got a contract, say with Talosend, and you purchase project management, technician, electrical engineer, structural engineering services, et cetera, from Taliesin. So now you're exposing in the form of a catalog the information to procure off that contract to the end user, and guess what? Now the end user, when they want to add this to the cart, they grab and they can customize this in my project manager for ZYCUS project. Scroll down, goods, service. I have a quote in hand. I called Taliesin up. I'm estimating this is what it's going to cost based on other quotes. Now I need to go get a quote from an existing vendor as to what this work is going to cost me. We're going to do a couple of these. I got a quote in hand. It's going to be $4,000. There's your contract right there. Perfect. Boom. So this enables more flexibility. You can even do attachments there. Like here's the specs for your statement of work or whatever, so you can go get a quote from the supplier. So there's a lot of flexibility here, and this enables you very effectively to manage stuff that you can't quite put in the box of necessarily a contracted or a catalog-based item. All right. Now, what if it's completely non-catalog? What do we do then? All right. I'm going to show you a couple things here. I need an audit service, okay? Let's see what we got for audit services. Oh no, the wheels just fell off. So this is what happens often when you're searching, especially earlier on in your journey on procure-to-pay maturity. You don't have a lot of catalog content, and you may not have a lot of free-form content, like category-based forms. How do you go about this, solving this problem right here? Okay, fantastic. ZYCUS has something called guided procurement. So the AI guided me to audit services. Now the system is telling me, you know, there are no catalog items found. We've got no virtual cards, no rate cards, no nothing. What do we do now? This is not even available on a punch out. ZYCUS, guide me in the process. Push the magic button. I call it the magic button because what it's going to do is it's going to guide the user to, using artificial intelligence, to the appropriate form to do a free form category-based buy. Let me close this up for you here so you can kind of understand from a real estate perspective what's going on here. All right, anytime you're going to do a non-catalog type of buy, you've got to fill in basic item requirements that would be germane to a catalog item if you had one. A lot of times it stops there. I've seen in many cases like a free form non-catalog based bucket of spend is actually done like on an Excel spreadsheet where you fill in all these Excel cells and all that junk. Really onerous process. What happens net is you don't typically get the level of detail from the end user that you need. And if you just have them fill out a form like this, you're going to get a little bit of information here, maybe here, maybe. A couple other things, they're going to fill in the required fields and that's going to be it. And then you're just, in procurement, you're just sitting there, you get the requisition on your desk, what do I do with this? Or even worse, it goes out the door and appeals to the supplier and they're like, what do I do with this? So you have to start picking up the phone and calling people to figure out what it is they actually need. We solved that problem. So the AI guided the user to an audit services specific category-based form. We have a boatload of these forms that we deliver out of the box. Maybe you like them, maybe you need to tweak them. So what we do during implementation is we gather requirements from our customers, gather requirements on specifications. Here, this is a pretty good audit form that we built out. It's got the policy, information about the project, staffing requirements, and that sort of thing. So now, when we gather requirements from you during implementation, we're going to build, white glove implementation, we're going to build and deploy these forms for you. And they're done in a what you see is what you get style of online editor. It's just drag and drop. You can build them yourself. We do it as part of the package, and then we train you how to do it. You can do this yourself going forward. And then, at your discretion, you're able to expose to your user community any and all of the forms that you want, and then use artificial intelligence to guide them to those forms, which is exactly what I just did. So now, you're able to put in required fields and have the user give you all the information that you need as a procurement professional to fulfill the request, to shepherd it through the process, and then all the information that the supplier would need to be able to fulfill the request against the contract. We also, right here, this is important, You have options to place the order. Here you can suggest suppliers based on the category. So this improves compliance. Here's a preferred contracted vendor. Here are my contracts for PricewaterhouseCoopers. So you can do two types, blanket POs, true contracts. All this is supported in the Genesys package. Add a new supplier. This doesn't actually let the end user add a new supplier to the supplier master, but it does allow them to suggest a supplier, and then procurement can make a decision. Well, should we really use one of these preferred ones, or is this a really legit need to add a new supplier, and then take them through the onboarding process, and then make it available, apply them to the purchase order requisition, and then engage a new supplier as part of the process. So a lot of flexibility here, some really cool stuff going on, and I'm going to just copy this over. I've done this a few times, as you can see. There we are. I need a compliance audit. Actually, I need a quote on this. It's going to flag this to stop off on the procurement desk to get a quote. Fantastic. We are good to go. Add to the cart. Check out. So now you see I've added 3 items to the cart. Quick. Easy. Simple. And here we are. Now, there's a lot going on here in the cart. I'll point out the highlights. First of all, based on who the user is, where they sit within the organization, their role, their function, the cart is intelligent and populates data for the users. Okay, so that's company, business unit, location, structure. So your organizational structure will be mapped into ZYCUS, enabling us to do things like default. This, I call it a CBL. And this is flexible, of course, but it's a pretty simple acronym for company, business unit, location, which is kind of a standard type of configuration for a lot of companies. This is going to help to drive. So based on the company, where I sit with the business unit I'm in, the location I'm at, cost center that I am personally responsible, that I work under, ZYCUS will default cost center information. We can default budgets, as you see. Based on my configurations, I've got budget utilization turned off, but I can turn it on, and that can be either by default or a flip of a switch. And as you can see here, when I do default it, I've got a default budget under my cost center, under my department, for my role as a VP, whatever. So this enables you to, again, create more compliant spend channels. So you're able to book costs to multiple cost centers, book costs at line item levels, all of the functionality that you would expect in a feature-rich procurement application, we have here available for you in ZYCUS. The cart is highly configurable and enables you to deploy it to the user group in such a way that is extremely frictionless for the user community. Okay, so let's go into the line items here just a little bit. Based on who I am, I'm logged in as a gentleman named John. Where I sit within the organization, ZYCUS is coding the cost center for me. And based on what you're purchasing, the general ledger is being coded as well. We have a very sophisticated rules mapping engine within the GL that lets you auto-populate general ledger coding based on what's being bought, what it's being used for, things of that nature, and where in the company it's actually going to be utilized. All those things can drive the general ledger codification in ZYCUS. I'm done here. Continue. Push the requisition out the door. That's taken me a few minutes in the course of explanation as I have shopped around, but as you can see, this is pretty simple stuff. Users are guided in the process, and they're taken on a journey of compliant spend leveraging the ZYCUS application. Okay. We have a very sophisticated workflow engine within ZYCUS. As you can see here, based on what was added to the cart, there are, in fact, 3 separate workflow paths that take place. For the mobile phone, that's going to a telecom manager before it goes out the door to the supplier. The project manager is going to the engineering department prior to being sent out the door. And then finally, the compliance audit, well, that's got to go for a quote before it can be sent for approval and pushed on out the door. So net-net, ZYCUS enables the splitting of these requisitions at a line item level based on category attributes as well as others to enable you to get the items approved in as expeditious a manner as possible while not holding up the process, waiting on something else to be approved. All right. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to do a couple of quick approvals here. ZYCUS enables the approvals to be done. It's very simple. I'm going to show it to you on screen here. I'm going to approve a couple. Let's just do this on screen. You can approve these via your mobile device using the ZYCUS app. You may also approve these via, let's approve another one here. You may also approve these via email, which when my employees submit requisitions to me, that is by far the easiest way to do it. Just approve it via email. Accept, reject, or request clarification for more information. Pretty basic blocking and tackling there. Okay, I'm going to skip the buyer's desk for now. We will come back to that in a few moments. But for the moment, we are going to go directly to purchase order. So I approved those, and when I approved 2 or 3 of these, they were ready to go on out the door. One of them needed to stop off on the buyer's desk for a quote, in fact, so we're going to have to get a quote there, okay? So let's, here's the one that was going to Best Buy for the PO was going to Best Buy. Now, with ZYCUS, you've got a lot of options as to how you transmit the PO to the supplier community. We support XML natively out of the box. We have a ZYCUS supplier network portal that is, I'm going to show you here in just a couple of moments, that enables transmission of these POs electronically. It's designed for suppliers who can't transact the business electronically otherwise to be able to do so. We also have a supplier app that suppliers can download from the Google or the Apple store to their smart devices, and they can pick up POs and flip invoices via the ZYCUS app. And then finally, we have actionable email. So the PO goes out via email, and suppliers can flip the purchase order to an invoice directly via email. Out of the box, those are the capabilities that are delivered as part of the Genesys package. So the ZYCUS PO has all of the features and capabilities that you would expect on a PO. So a full PO management complete with a full PO amendment process that does a version control on the PO revisions, as well as supports additional approvals as the PO is amended. So I'm going to pop open the ZYCUS Supplier Network portal quickly. As I have timed out. One moment. And there it is. All right. So the Supplier Network portal is designed to be super, super simple for suppliers to navigate. As you can see here, there are a lot of features and capabilities within the portal itself. Supplier information management, contract and sourcing management, PO and invoice management, as well as catalog management. And there are even additional capabilities here not shown. Okay, so that purchase order that was just pushed out the door sits right here on the supplier side on the portal. It is currently in an unconfirmed state. Let's get a look at this PO, okay? Supplier picks up the PO. It does get emailed to them, but a lot of them like to log in here. There's functionality available within the portal, such as the ability to view payment data that they do, in fact, like. So here's your PO. That looks good. Confirm it. Estimated delivery date based on lead time, confirm PO. Fantastic. Status changes to confirmed. Now, this is sending emails as well as notifications in the app, and then it's also over here on the PO side, back in ZYCUS, is collecting all of this detail. There's the transaction that's what I just did right here. Now let's receipt this thing. So the supplier confirms the PO, and they go ahead and ship the goods, and we get them. Now need to do a quick receipt on this. So you can do a doc receipt, or if you have a central shipping and receiving function within your company, or you can do desktop receipt. It's designed to be really, really simple so that we get maximum buy-in. 2- and 3-way matching can be turned off at a supplier and category level. That's up to you, up to your discretion. But the receiving is designed to be just a click, click, click process. So I click to say I want to create a receipt. Yes, I received the good in question. Which items did you receive? Click. Submit, click. Confirm, click. Done and done. Now, when the invoice comes in, it won't be held on a receipt hold, indicating that the receipt has not been yet affected as part of the process for the three-way match. I'm going to move forward to the invoice. As of now, obviously we have nothing here. The supplier hasn't invoiced us yet. Now, it's often the case the supplier will invoice you immediately upon shipping, so the invoice arrives first, which is fine. It just goes into a receipt hold queue, and then when the end user receives the goods, they conduct the receipt, and away you go. Flip back to the supplier side. We do support advanced ship notices as core functionality in the product, and then we've got, I'm going to flip this PO to an invoice. Now, in support of the OCR capability, suppliers can upload a copy of the invoice right here. As you see, it's done like a split screen. So we've done this, we're doing this in a couple of stages. Currently, the OCR, if a supplier emails in a PDF or they postal mail or what have you, and then the AP staff upload that invoice into the ZYCUS queue, then the OCR will be applied. We've extended the functionality of doing the side-by-side upload comparison, and we are in the process of extending the OCR in real time out to the supplier network portal, literally to scan this invoice and flip the PO and or non-PO invoice it right here on screen in real time. Currently, if you're doing a PO backed, really the only data the supplier has to enter is the invoice number, invoice date, and everything else remit to, all the data flips forward from the PO into the invoice. Flag which line? In most cases, after you've done an order acknowledgement, a confirmation, you've done an advanced ship notice, you're not going to change anything on the invoice. You may be doing a partial invoice, but you're not changing anything on the invoice. So what this does is it dramatically reduces keystroke errors and the amount of match exceptions that occur in accounts payable. That's part of your value proposition. The time and energy it takes your employees and staff to conduct the process here of manually matching and then resolving conflicts. I'm going to make this one fail intentionally. So we're going to go for the 10% use case here. Sometimes suppliers assess taxes here. We do have the ability to integrate into tax engines to calculate taxes or to validate them. And then we have our own tax tables as well. Perfect. Invoice has been delivered over into ZYCUS. Let's get back over. Accounts payable receives that invoice into the queue, and then it's queued up under the invoice management queue over here. Pop this out real quick. Under the invoice queue, it's queued up here. And then it also appears over here. Entirely possible I actually picked the wrong one. In that case, let me double check for you real quick. Number 38. Make sure my order's right. Yep, that's the one. Sometimes these have to process in the background, and it takes a couple of minutes for them to show up. I won't delay the demo. I'll just jump back out here, and I'll select a different PO, and we will go forward from there. All right. So when that invoice pops back in, there's one. Got a couple of options here. It's either going to go and move on through to approved, or it's going to have a match exception. This one's in an approved status. The one that I submitted previously, which will process in the background and show up here in just a minute or two, will show a match exception. Okay, this one actually had a match exception as well. And here are the reasons why. It calls them out very clearly, very succinctly. But then I went in and did a manual match, overrode, and approved. So if I scroll down here, you're going to see this is routed for a workflow approval. I did this one a few days ago. and it had to be routed in and approved, and then all that is captured in an audit trail that appears right down here in ZYCUS. All right, so that gets you through the matching process. Of course, you can reject this and send it back out to the supplier and have them fix the invoice. We can even programmatically block suppliers from submitting invoices that are outside of certain tolerances. We have a very sophisticated tolerance and matching engine as well that enables that matching to take place. Let's step back here to the buyer's desk. The buyer's desk is important because any purchase order, any document that needs a little bit of attention from the standpoint of the procurement organization is going to drop off here on what's called the buyer's desk. Remember, I submitted one that I flagged as needing a quote. So here I've got one, items that need to be sourced. My compliance audit from PwC, even though it's on contract, was flagged by the user as needing a quote. So let me pop this up here. There's your information. It's in a need a quote status right now. Requirement details right here. And then who's the supplier? Okay, fantastic. So we're in great shape here. Actions. Select your item. Actions. Create a quick sourcing event. Boom. Pulls everything forward from the requisition itself, and then also allows you to add additional questions and information here, right? So you can ask extra questions, including messages for the suppliers. Add additional suppliers. You can even add vendor contacts who are not even part of your supplier master if you wish, and that's going to enable you to effectively get the competitive quotes that are required to be compliant to the process. So you can use both vendors in the master as well as vendors not in the master. Flip windows here. When I flip this forward into a quick sourcing event, we have a special queue for these, and here you are. I needed 50 man hours of financial audit. I need 20 hours of consulting, add additional items, ask questions for the suppliers, send messages, even attachments. It could be like a sample work statement that they would flip into a statement of work on their side, invite your vendors, internal stakeholders, save it as a draft just for later work, or send it, we're good to go. This literally takes you a matter of a few minutes. Super quick, super, super simple, okay? Move my window here. All right, now, what happens after it goes out the door, right? You've got the event is opened up to the invited vendors. I've invited PwC, and you know what? I also decided I wanted to invite a stakeholder from Deloitte. So what does the user see? Or what does the supplier see? This is pushed out to the supplier, leveraging the self-same supplier portal. Here you are. Under my events, my sourcing events, they get an email, they can click a link into it, and then they actually see the audit services here. Enter inquiry. That's pretty straightforward. Here's what's needed. Bid, answer the questions, submit, done and done. Very simple. Now, this is a very easy and quick way of doing quoting. We have a very sophisticated request for quote capability that is part and parcel. It's actually fully integrated into this, into the e-procurement solution as well, and it runs standalone also, so you can literally kick off an auction or a much more sophisticated quote as part of e-procurement as well. I'm just demonstrating as part of the Genesis basic package essentials. This is kind of what you get out of the box. And then ultimately, when you want to award, select your supplier, and then award the business. Very simple, very quick, very easy. And then the price that you've negotiated, if I pop open my compliance audit here back on the procure to pay, the slide flips to buyer negotiated price. I'm doing this manually since I didn't actually push the results back. Changes it, and then it's ready to send out for approval. You're good to go. I'm doing all this in real time, so it's literally about this simple. Okay, I've got just a few minutes left. I'm going to move over. I'm going to show you a couple things. I've got a little bit more ground to cover here. I've covered e-procurement, lightly covered invoice management. I've covered sourcing. We've got to cover contracting and supplier management. So I'm just going to open up contract management here. You've got a number of different capabilities that are built in, including performance against contracts. So let's start there, okay? I'm going to show you spend by contract. As you are spending dollars in the procure to pay solution, we are literally going to aggregate that up by PO and invoice spend. We're literally going to aggregate this up from P2P into the contract management solution and show you every dollar that has been spent, line item detail within the context of this contract, and give you a utilization tracker. Very, very powerful capability. I'm going to move to the repository now, which sits right here in the repository. Contracts. What do they actually look like in ZYCUS? So if you author them in ZYCUS, you could take them through an entire authoring cycle and then add them to the repository programmatically. That's one way to go about this. I'm actually going to show you here, if you just upload a contract. Sorry, I have a permissions error. My apologies. Oh, I've timed out. Let me log back in. I'll briefly describe this. So from a repository perspective, when you author these agreements outside of ZYCUS, you're able to upload them into the repository. It's a pretty simple process to upload them in. We also have mass uploaders to get your agreements uploaded during implementation en masse. And here's your repository agreement right here. Okay, so your navigation left-hand side is all of your contract information in detail. Metadata about the contract is captured here. This is extraordinarily flexible within ZYCUS so that you're able to capture, track, and report on all of the metadata that you need to report on, then drive alerts and notifications off of it. Track your contract outline or your actual executed agreement. Your line item level of detail and information here. So ZYCUS supports just basic pricing, percentage discount, fixed pricing, slab-based pricing, volume-based price discounts. So all of this propagates down to procure to pay and becomes actionable from a e-procurement perspective. You literally have a one-click, it's one button click to create a contract or create a catalog from a contract line items. All of your contract documents will sit right here. So you can track those. You actually search and report on those as well. Alerts, reminders, milestones, utilization, all this is tracked here, along with your contract hierarchy and your audit logs on the contracts as well. And then the final thing I'm going to point out before I open the floor up for questions is supplier management. You get a full supplier management capability as well. So I'll verbally run you through this. The supplier management component is the foundation of all things, of everything that ZYCUS sells, of all our applications. And this foundation is going to enable you to build upon it your supplier strategy, your tier-based structure, drive your e-procurement, enable suppliers for transactional commerce, as well as conduct sourcing, contracting, all of the above. This is a very flexible. I've got a simple version of the supplier profile deployed here. In many cases, we do this much more sophisticated. But at minimum, you're going to be able to collect all the detail and information that you need about your supplier, a flexible supplier profile, onboarding and due diligence workflow, self-service portal for the suppliers, reporting, and alert management and notification on expiration, key dates, milestones, that type of information. All this comes out of the box with this solution, and all of this is available for you as part of the Genesys package. So purchasing information, banking details. I see a lot of organizations collect tax certificates, W-8s, W-9s, diversity information, bank details, payment terms. All of that can be captured and entered by the supplier in a self-service portal. So it's a full onboarding and supplier management engine here. And if I pop this back out, you've got a lot of capability available here for collaboration, reporting, management, qualification, searching, etc. So it's a very robust application. I know it's been a great hour, and I don't have really time to do the full application justice in such a short period of time. I am going to do one more PowerPoint slide. October 8th through 10th at the Roosevelt Hotel with Waldorf Astoria Properties, our annual ZYCUS User Conference. We would love to have you join me and a couple hundred of my closest friends in the French Quarter in New Orleans for this event. It's a phenomenal event. It's a lot of fun. It's also a lot of learning, and it's not a high-pressure sales gig. So you come meet with analysts, meet with ZYCUS customers, other prospective ZYCUS customers, and have a good conversation and a good time hoeing down with us at the Roosevelt Hotel. So it's going to be a, for sure, old-fashioned party. It's a hoedown for ZYCUS, and we have it every year. This year it's October 8th through 10th. We would love to have you join us. I'm going to open the floor now for any questions. If you have those, please type them into the chat window, and I will be most pleased to answer those for you. Give just one more minute. Check my chat box. Appears we don't have any questions. Okay, well, fantastic. It's been a genuine pleasure. So if you don't have any more questions or nothing to add here, I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. Let you get off to lunch about 3 minutes early if you're on East Coast Eastern Standard Time. Again, thank you for joining us, and I appreciate your time today. Have a wonderful Thursday and a good end of your week. Thanks. Bye-bye.